Hi guys, and welcome back to the Video Game with Powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I'll be giving you my in-depth review of the board game Cryptic Nature, coming to you from iDventure Games. Now, Cryptic Nature is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 plus, right around 90 plus minutes per playthrough. If this is your first time watching a review from us guys, we go a little bit more in depth than maybe some other content creators do, and we break the game down into several different categories. These categories are theme, components, setup, length, difficulty, replayability, and price. Within each of these different categories, guys, I'm going to give a number rating equivalent to the BGG scale, and at the conclusion of these categories, I will wrap the video up with my overall rating of the game. I do also want to note, guys, that this is a 100% honest and genuine review. I have received no form of payment from iDventure Games to create this review. I went ahead and backed the game on Kickstarter because I thought the theme looked pretty cool. So let's go ahead and just dive right in, starting off with the theme. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the theme a 9 out of 10 here. I think there is an excellent theme to Cryptic Nature, and I think the whole mechanics of the game tie into the game itself excellently, right? If that's even a word. But I just think they do an excellent job of tying the mechanics of the game into the theme. So what is the theme here of Cryptic Nature? Essentially, guys, you are taking on the role of a cryptozoologist, and you are going around Europe trying to track these cryptids by collecting evidence. And then once you finally able to capture these cryptids, you then have the opportunity to relocate them into a sanctuary. And so that's what you are trying to do, is save some of these cryptids from like poachers or theoretical poachers or whatnot. You got an assistant that's going to help you, and he's going to do different things like give you money and help you gain some experience too. While you're out in the world of Europe actually trying to track the cryptids, he's kind of at your home base, or he's doing other things to help fund you and all of your expeditions, right? I actually want to go ahead and jump down to the table, guys, and show you how some of these mechanics tie into the game. All right, guys, so we are down here at the table where we would have something that looks like an in-progress game of Cryptic Nature. I do also want to note that this is the Kickstarter version of the game with the wooden upgrade add-on. So all of your evidence markers, the experience markers, these rumor tokens right here are a wooden upgrade that was available through the Kickstarter project of the game. And like I said, this is the Kickstarter edition of the game. So if you do pick up the retail edition of Cryptic Nature, just note that there might be some differences in your version of the game than what you see here today. So as I mentioned, guys, the overall objective of Cryptic Nature is you are taking on the role of a cryptozoologist, and you are going to be moving around this map of Europe here, and you're going to want to collect these different pieces of evidence to try and capture these specific cryptids. And you know, cryptids going to have some information on it for you. And so on the right hand side, these are the pieces of evidence that you're going to need in order to find or locate this specific cryptid. Now, what's also really cool is you can attempt to find or attempt to guess some evidence of these particular cryptids if you don't have enough. So for example, let's say I only had a bone and one of these specific rumors. I could roll 1 dice, and depending on my roll, I would be successful in this case. I have correctly guessed where the Mothman is, all right? And then each of these specific cryptids are going to have a location of where they are going to be found, and so you use this evidence to locate them throughout that specific area. And so you'll have a player board, you'll be able to have a bunch of different actions, you'll be able to upgrade different actions throughout the course of the game. Like I said, you have an assistant here that he's going to be able to, you know, get money for you, get experience for you, help you, you know, reset some of your abilities here that you have upgraded or gained through by spending these coins. You can buy evidence from the market. And so there's a whole bunch of different things you can do kind of in this section of the board, but that main goal, the main mechanic is you're going around collecting evidence to try and locate these specific cryptids. And you have 6 cryptids that will be out here. You'll have these bid markers, right, that you want to place on a cryptid that you want to try and locate. And you can only locate cryptids that are on that specific bid marker. The last thing over here, guys, is our sanctuary board. Now, this is a magnetic board. That's kind of the draw of this particular game. And you can see here for a 2-player game, what this would kind of look like is you will have all these different terrain tiles. And at the end of your turn, you will start to build out this board collectively. And then when you decide to relocate cryptids into this area, whatever color they are, so like this Mothman is a red tile, right? I must place this red tile somewhere on the red area. I would claim these specific bonuses, and then I would put one of my markers here, indicating that that is me who relocated that specific cryptid right there. So that's kind of the relocation aspect of the game. But as I mentioned, look, I think it's an excellent theme. I think they do an excellent job of tying all of these mechanics into the actual game. It really does make you feel like, you know, I have my cryptozoologist. I'm going around collecting these evidence, collecting these cryptids. My assistant is helping me gain more cryptids or do things where I can have the ability to relocate more cryptids or collect more evidence and things like that. And so they just do a really good job of kind of piecing everything together. All right, I want to stay down here and talk about the components for a second. I'm going to go ahead and give the components a 9 out of 10. I think the components to this game are excellent. Of course, the beautiful game board. This game board is lovely, phenomenal. I love the artwork on the game board. The colors, the vibrantness of it just really, really makes it stand out. I love that. I love the artwork on all of the particular cryptid cards. They're so unique and so awesome. You know, they tell you a little bit about the cryptid, some small history. All the iconography on the cryptid cards are awesome. They have a ton of cryptid cards, guys. So these are all level 1 cryptids. All right, you have level 2 cryptids. Look at all these level 2 cryptids right here. And then you also have level 3 cryptids as well. So there are a ton of cryptids in this particular game. Of course, I do love the dual layer player boards here. Very easy tracking all of your particular stuff. I do highly recommend the upgraded wooden add-on for the evidence pieces. Again, guys, I'm just very particular when I have stuff in a bag and I need to pull stuff from my bag. I just feel like the small little cardboard punch outs get stuck in there a lot. But with the wooden pieces, it's super easy to kind of mix around. You have the wooden pieces for each of the particular cryptids. Right now, I wish these were magnetic, you know, I really do. But then, of course, you have the actual magnetic pieces of the tiles as well, filling out that magnetic board. And like I said, that's kind of the main draw here with this game is that magnetic piece. But look, I think the storage solution is great here. Everything is able to be stored nice and well. There's no lid lift. They have spots for everything. So I think they just done an excellent job here with the production and the components of the game. All the vibrant colors and the uniqueness of all the different cryptids here really makes it stand out for me. So 9 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the setup. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the setup a 7 out of 10 here. For me, it's not really good. It's not really great. There is a lot of tedious setup with Cryptic Nature. And where the tediousness comes in is each of those cryptids have their own tile. And so there's a big bag of all these different tiles. You got to get that out. You got to sort them between red, green, and blue. And so that's going to take up space somewhere on your table. Then you got to get out the magnetic board there, the sanctuary board. You have all those tiles, the red, the green, and the blue, and you're placing all them out. Of course, you have the board itself, the evidence. You got to set up the evidence on the board. You get your player board. You get out the cryptid cards. So there's a lot of different things that you're needing to set up here, and it is somewhat tedious, but it doesn't take really a long time. It's just super tedious, right? So for me, I'm kind of like, it's not really great, but it's not really bad either. It's just kind of like, man, right? It's somewhere in the middle for me. So 7 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the length. So on the box, it says 90 plus minutes, and that is very accurate. I would say 90 to 120 minutes for a 2-player player game. I have never played this more than 2 players because I'm afraid that that length is going to make it even more, maybe 120 plus, 150 minutes. So it's kind of scary for me to even recommend this at 3 players, but I'm going to go ahead and give this length a 6 out of 10. I think for me, it's just too long and there's no real way to speed the game up, because the way the game is going to end is when you guys fill up that sanctuary board, right? So that thing takes a while for it to fill up, because at the end of every turn, you are just placing, each player is only going to place 1 of a 2 square tile. So it does take a really long time. And I think too, also this game kind of loses its luster a little bit as the game continues to drag on, right? There's a certain point where you're like 60 to 75 minutes in the game and you're just kind of like, you know, with maybe some Euros, you're just kind of like, okay, like, I'm kind of over this right now. I kind of just want it to end. And so for me, that's a little bit how it feels. Like I get drawn in with the theme in the first couple rounds. I'm super excited. And then I start getting into it. And as you start getting into it, you start unlocking more abilities. You can start doing more things on your turn, which is great. But that also slows the game down a lot. And so I just think I wish there is a better way for the length to kind of be sped up a little bit, but for me, it's a 6 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the difficulty. As always, remember, the lower the difficulty, the easier we feel the game is, and the higher the difficulty, the more challenging we feel the game is. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 4 out of 10. I think there are some challenging aspects to this game. As I mentioned with the length, the longer the game goes and the more experience that you gain, the more upgrades or actions you can take on your specific turn. So you get to your turn and maybe you have 4 or 5 different actions that are available to you that you can all take in that turn. So it's going to take a little bit of strategy and a little bit of thinking trying to figure all that stuff out. But I think at its core, the game is super simple and easy. It does come with a player aid, which is phenomenal. This is probably the best part about this game other than the theme and the components, because it lays everything out for you. And the game at a core, it's very simple, right? So on your turn, you are taking 1 movement action, all right? That is a mandatory movement that you have to take. So you can move 0 to 2 spaces. And then you're going to take a secondary action, which is either move again, collect evidence, track a cryptid, relocate a cryptid, or reset evidence. So you're taking 1 main movement action and then 1 of 5 different options available to you. And like what's kind of cool is the game kind of walks you through the process of how it gets played. And that's what I really enjoy about it here is the start of the game, you don't have a lot of actions available to you. So it's kind of real simple. It's like, all right, move and try and collect evidence. And then as you start unlocking more, it's like, oh, I can move, collect evidence. Now I can capture a cryptid and then relocate them in the same turn. So the game does a great job of kind of walking you through all the different turns and actions, almost like the first couple of rounds. It's like a trial run, I guess, a little bit. And then once you get to round 5 or 6 or 4, maybe, is when the game finally kicks in. So I think they do a really good job with that, of kind of easing you in to the difficulty of the game. But 4 out of 10 for me. All right, moving on to the replayability. I'm gonna go ahead and give this an 8 out of 10. I think there's some great replayability with Cryptic Nature here. Of course, you have all the different cryptids. There's a lot of different cryptids. You are not gonna get through all of these different cryptids in one playthrough. Again, there's a lot of level 1, level 2, level 3, and those level 2 and 3s only come out when you capture the previous level before that. The evidence you're gonna run through pretty quickly, and then like that sanctuary board and the different terrain tiles, you're not going to use all of those different terrain tiles. The sanctuary board is going to look different every time. The evidence that comes out is going to look different every time. Obviously, the different strategies and contracts that you're looking for every time is going to be different. So I think there's some great replayability here with just the variability of all the different cryptids, the sanctuary board itself, how it's going to be structured, and kind of the strategy that you want to take. So 8 out of 10 for me on replayability. All right, guys, moving on to the price. So the average price I could find online for the retail edition of Cryptic Nature is around $50 US. And at that price point, I'm gonna go ahead and give that a 7 out of 10. This one was really tough for me. And, you know, because look, This is a Euro style game. Could you classify this as a heavy Euro style game? I don't think so, but I think this is pretty much close. It's getting there to that heavy Euro style feel. And for $50, a $50 price point for a, you know, kind of close or heavy Euro style game is actually pretty good. Like most of those heavy Euro style games, I think what guys come in at like 60 plus, 70 plus for that. So this is actually a really good price point for that. But at the same time, it's not really a heavy Euro. So it's hard, right? It's hard to look at the value of this game because, you know, I don't know any other game that iDventure has done before Cryptic Nature. I believe this is one of their first projects or their big projects, right? And so we've kind of seen the a $50 price point is kind of the standard of where it's been so far. So it's hard to kind of determine the value on this one. But yeah, look, I'm just, you know, I don't have a lot to say on this because we don't really have a lot of data right now. And so I'm just somewhere in the middle. So I think it's a 77.5 for me. I think it's at $50, it's a solid price point for a Euro style game. We'll just leave it at that. So 7.5 out of 10 for the price. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to my overall rating. And I'm gonna go ahead and give Cryptic Nature a 7.5 out of 10. I was so close to giving this one an 8 out of 10. There's so much I love about Cryptic Nature, right? Obviously, I love the theme and I love the mechanics and how all the mechanics tie into the theme of you collecting these cryptids and then putting them in a sanctuary, trying to save them, right? To preserve them in their own ecosystem and habitat. The artwork and the colors, the vibrant colors are just so amazing. It looks so cool on your table. All the different amount of cryptids and things like that. That sanctuary board, look, I wish it was a little bit more magnetic, but it is still kind of cool having a magnetic board to keep all that stuff down. And I wish the cryptid tiles were magnetic as well. But the big thing for me that's holding it back to be an 8 out of 10 is really just the length here. I wish this was somewhere in the 60 to 90 minute range for the length. I think it's more of a 90 to 120 minute game. And like I said, like this game really draws you to the table, but after a while around that 60 to 75 minute mark, it's like the game just kind of drags on and it kind of loses its luster a little bit, right? Because there's so many different things you're trying to do on your turn. You get to a point where like, you just kind of want the game to be over, and so you might miss some steps, or like the first couple rounds, you're following the steps like boom, 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 boom in order, and then you're like, okay, I've got the steps down, let me do it without following everything in order, because I know if I continue to do this, the length of the game is only going to increase, and then you guys end up missing some steps here and there, and it kind of just creates this like, oh man, well, we forgot that, oh well, let's just keep playing kind of feel, right? Yeah, that's the best way I can explain it for me is there's so much to love with this game, but I think the length here for me is just really, it just puts that at a 7.5 instead of an 8, and when I really, really want to love it. And there's no real way to shorten the game, right? They do shorten the sanctuary board in a 2 to 3 player game, but again, just having one singular way that the game is going to end, you know, I wish there was maybe you could have done like if the person collects their 6th cryptid or something like that, or relocates their 5th cryptid or something like that. That one's a little bit easier because there's different ways where you can capture and collect more cryptids. I think that would have been a better route, and now that makes the game around 60 to 90 minutes. But when you kind of pigeonhole the game to only end in one certain way, and that way you can only do one of that at the end of every your turns, that's going to make this game significantly longer than I feel it needs to be. All right. But that's really my only critique here with Cryptic Nature. There's a lot of other great things about this game that I enjoy, but for me, it's really the length that is what prevents this getting to the table time after time, and for me, prevents it from being a 8 out of 10 or great. But look, I think it's still better than good. I think it's really good. 7.5 out of 10 for my overall rating. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, comment down below. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. And as always, guys, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, y'all have a great one. Bye.